we do have a lot in common, and those are great lessons that you can learn. Even my time in Afghanistan, understanding that the people there want peace, they want tranquility, right? They want to be able to live better, and these things are no different from us. It's just they have to deal with the same terrorists that we did. So we're talking about what lessons learned in the military in terms of just being able to understand different people, different aspects of their lives. I think that's it's a very important lesson that I had learned in the military.
Great. What have been the cause of most misunderstanding? What causes division sometimes in a small group or a large group?
Well, I think sometimes what happens is the division sometimes caused by people not realizing that they have more in common than they have differences. So when you believe that you have more in common with somebody, you're more likely to open up and have a better conversation and listen.
So I wanted to ask you, I feel that it's just as important to speak up, for veterans to speak up, and for everybody to speak up and share their own opinion. But it's also important that we not only speak up, but also be willing to respect different opinion. And I feel that that's what's causing division sometimes. How do you feel about that?
We have to take that moment to listen to others and not shout them down. Because going back to making sure that we're listening to people, not shouting them down, and maybe adopting some of the ideas, we can come to an understanding. And then, and it relates to what I said earlier, when people talk about what they have in common, whether it's a like for certain foods, or I like dogs, or have children, or whatever it might be. When you make each other human, you're also going to respect their ideas, or at least listen, and that's important. When people feel listened, then they're more apt to get along. Not understanding the facts about PTSD, which for a while it seemed the media was utilizing a lot when it comes to military service people, that they were all one way. They were all going to shoot people or kill people. That was heavy. Not understanding that, like anything else, any other disease or illness, there's different variations of it.
How do you feel about taking care of veterans before taking care of immigrants? That's a controversial topic, and I want people to understand I'm an immigrant myself, so it's nothing to do with being against immigrants. I'm trying to look at this from a logical perspective.
Our country is a capitalist country. We make money. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with ambition. There's nothing wrong wanting to do better and gain more things. Nothing wrong with it. But what are we going to do with it, right?
Or is the country in more trouble than we think? Could there be foreign investment, foreign enemies investing in this division in America?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good point. And I think for a long time, we've known that there's been foreign investments in trying to push our country in different ways. We know that we have to be careful with what's being fed into from China and Russia and other places.
So Jorge, is it all right if I call you Jorge?
Oh, please.
Thank you so much again for doing this. As a veteran, I started seeing what's going on, and I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel that we are so divided now in America. And as a veteran, it's concerning because we shouldn't be. I feel that if the media would just concentrate on telling the truth, no matter who it is, we would not feel so divided in this country. I don't think Americans are as far apart as it seems to be right now. But to the world, we are divided. And that's a little bit of a danger. As a veteran, I feel that that's a dangerous situation to be in as a country. When the whole world sees you as a divided nation, they probably feel weakness with that. So I appreciate you taking the time. But before we get into all these things, this is why I want to do this, the division that I feel. But at the same time, I want to hear a little bit about you. Thank you for your service, by the way. Can you tell us a little bit of what branch of the military you served, how long, and where?
Absolutely. First, thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about this and for your service. I, the military branch that I was in was in the Army. I went in as an enlisted and had a few MOSs. I served, did supply. Then I was a military police officer. Then after I went to law school, I moved into the JAG Corps. I served 22 years as some active and some reserve, some mobilization time. I retired in 2017, and enjoyed my service, enjoyed the camaraderie and the unity within the military that a lot of us know about and enjoyed, and it just felt like a group and felt like we had a mission, and you understood it. So it was a great experience for me.
Great. And just for the people who are not service people, what do you mean by MOS? Several MOS.
Military occupational specialty. So it's your job. So when I first started out as an enlisted, I was an automated supplies specialist, and then we moved into military police, and then my third job for the military was the judge advocate.
Okay, great. And after you got out of the military, now I understand you work for the town of Babylon?
Yes, I work for the town of Babylon in the town attorney's office. I've been there for 4 years now. We do not just legal stuff, but we do quality of life, deal with quality of life issues, making sure that things that affect people's daily lives, whether if it's an abandoned house or there's squatters or any situations like that, or abandoned vehicles, we help to take care of those situations so the taxpayers in the town feel like the government's being responsive to their needs, and making sure that we all live a good life.
How is that? Is that very difficult? You mentioned a keyword there, squatters. That's going around the whole country. How is that dealt with in the town of Babylon?
Well, what we try to approach the situation, see what's going on, assess it first, see if they're squatters, if they're tenants, and then apply the law to the advantage of the town and its citizens. Many times people try to take advantage of loopholes, and what we do is we take advantage of the law to make sure that we do what is right, to remove those people and bring the house into compliance. Hopefully get those people out, so maybe whoever owns it can fix it, sell it, to have it turned over. We've been able to do this in many places where the houses have been turned back. Real estate agents have been able to to help the owners take possession, and then the homes have been redone, remodeled, and then beautiful homes. We have many examples at the town, projects that we've worked on. And people on the block are so happy because they said they've been dealing with it for a while, but with the new program we have with our unit, our investigative unit, under the town attorney's office, we're able to utilize the law for the advantage of the citizens.
Great. So, how was going back to your military career? How long did you say you were there? 20 years?
I did 22. I completed 22 years of service.
And how did that impact your life? From what was there before service Rosario, Jorge Rosario, and what was the after service Jorge Rosario?
I grew up in Brooklyn. A family moved from Puerto Rico to the States, and joining the service right after college, I think helped me understand different types of people from around the country. Many people that I worked with were from all over the United States, and it gave me an opportunity to talk to and get to know young men and women from all over the place. So I think it enhanced my understanding of how others live, where they come from. And I know we want to talk about unity, but understanding others and understanding that we have more in common than differences is important. And that's one of the lessons that helped me Besides, understanding hard work, understanding working as a team, a mission, continuing the love that I have for the United States, for our Constitution, and making sure that we do whatever we can to keep that together. So it just taught me so much, and I apply those lessons that I learned in the military to what I do today in terms of our unit, when we do investigative work, when we do enforcement, try to understand people, have compassion. Sometimes, sometimes somebody could be deemed a squatter, but maybe they're really down on their luck. They need some assistance. Mm-hmm. We try to provide that too. Just understanding everything and not making quick judgments, but understand also that, we do have a lot in common. And those are great lessons that you can learn. And even my time in Afghanistan, understanding that the people there want peace, they want tranquility, right? They want to be able to live better. And these things are no different from us. It's just they have to deal with the same terrorists that we did. So we're talking about, what lessons learned in the military in terms of, just being able to understand different people, different aspects of their lives. I think it's a very important lesson that I had learned in the military.
Right. What have been the cause of most misunderstanding? What causes division sometimes in a small group or a large group?
Well, I think sometimes what happens is the division sometimes caused by people not realizing that they have more in common than they have differences. So when you believe that you have more in common with somebody, you're more likely to open up and have a better conversation and listen. So, so essentially when you meet a group or an individual or anybody else, you first find what's in common, right? We all have things in common. And sometimes even enjoying the differences that people have. When I met people from different parts of the country in the military, you go down south, you're introduced to grits. If you're from the north, you've maybe never had that, so you give it a try, you try it, and people just enjoy when you're trying something from where they're from, right, from their area. And that can open up conversation and can open up that dialogue and better understanding. Because if you go into it and just everything somebody may tell you, introduce to you, say, oh, I don't like that, or I don't want to, you kind of shut down. Well, you shut down the conversation. Now the divisions increase versus what do we have in common, right? Yeah. Do you love your family? Yeah. Do you love your kids? Sure, I love my kids. You love dogs or cats or whatever it might be. You find that common ground, and then you continue to move forward. And these days I feel that that the focus with the media and other folks is that all they want to talk about are the differences, but not what keeps us together, not what we have in common. Like what we're doing right now with the project in the town of Babylon with quality of life issues. I don't care if you're a Democrat, conservative, Republican, liberal, or what. You want to feel safe in your home. You don't want your car broken into.
Correct.
You don't want drugs on your street. You don't want shootings. Nobody wants that. I don't care where you fall into. Nobody wants that. So those are the commonalities. So the focus is what keeps us together is that feeling that, hey, I pay my taxes. I want my kids to go to a good school, to be taught well, safety, making sure that my property values increase as I've invested so much. These are some things we all have in common. I don't care what part of the aisle you're from or your thoughts. You want those things.
Yeah, one of the things that caught my attention to you is that I visited, a few years ago. I was in the town of Babylon. I met you.
Yes.
We spoke a little bit about your service, and also you mentioned something about you guys working together with Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't know what your ideology is, whether you are Democrats or Republican. All I know is that you're a veteran, but I like what you say, that you guys all work together, and it's different things from what we see on TV.
Yes.
And that's why I felt that I needed to have you on for Vets4Unity, because you probably bring a different perspective, that you work together with both sides, and that's the way it should be. And they should work harder. The leadership, I think the political parties should work harder when they're on camera to show unity instead of division. But they do the opposite.
Yes, yeah, and I think, and it's out there, the points or the times where there's unity in doing things, but sometimes the media and some people, they don't want to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it almost like what sells best? Division. Instead of focusing on, again, what did we do together? What did we accomplish together?
What do you think we could do as veterans? Do you feel that this is important to have veterans speak up and show their feelings, no matter where they stand? Because I'm not here to show, people that know me know that I probably fall more to one side than the other. But my idea is to respect everyone. I don't want freedom of speech to be crushed for the left or the right, because I know we need balance. We need to respect each other.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and it's important that that veterans do speak. They provide their perspective as people who have served. Our men and women have served our country, and bring together their perspectives as to they've worked with, like I did, people from all over the country. They've worked with people around the world. They bring that perspective, and they should speak out no matter what it is, so that way, that communication can help bring people together and understanding more of who they are, why they have these thoughts, because their experience with one thing might be different than my experiences as well, right? It's not all going to be the same, but that communication is important, and you're only going to get that if they speak out, and then we talk and have those discussions.
So I wanted to ask you, I feel that it's just as important to speak up, for veterans to speak up, and for everybody to speak up and share their own opinion. But it's also important that we not only speak up, but also be willing to respect different opinion. And I feel that that's what's causing division sometimes. How do you feel about that?
We have to take that moment to listen to others and not shout them down, because I think too many times people, if somebody has a difference of opinion, the way it's been recently is that you just shout them down, and that's not productive. We have to go back to a time where we just listened, even if we disagreed, and then sometimes learn, and sometimes you can be able to adopt people's ideas, because you realize, wait, you know what? I don't agree with everything that person said, but maybe I agree with 20%, 25%. Going back to making sure that we're listening to people, not shouting them down, and maybe adopting some of the ideas, we can come to an understanding. And then, and it relates to what I said earlier, when people talk about what they have in common, whether it's a like for certain foods, or I like dogs, or have children, or whatever it might be. When you make each other human, you're also going to respect their ideas, or at least listen, and that's important. When people feel listened, then they're more apt to get along. And we used to see that in Congress years ago, right? They would disagree and go have lunch and dinner and have a drink together, a cigar together, whatever it might be, and they had differences.
Correct. You know what? Well, one of the things that motivated me to start Vets4Unity is that before I used to think, oh, that's just the media. People are not getting so divided. The American people are smart. But then I had a few conversations I ran into. I'm only going to tell you one that really concerned me. It's someone that I know. And this person, someone that I care for, someone that I respect a lot. And she mentioned some things about not worrying too much about facts. She came out straight up. It was more about feelings. And when we put feelings over truth, over facts, we're gonna run into problem. And that actually concerned me, that somebody who is educated, somebody who went through college, is thinking that way, to disregard facts. Right. That shocked me. And that say, no, we need to speak up. I think every American, especially veterans, I think veterans were willing to put their life on the line to defend the freedom that this country represents. So I think now, if we are veterans, our duties to America does not end when we retire or when we left the military. I think we can still contribute. What do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I know when retired from the Army, we there's a motto, soldiers for life, right? You're always that because everything that was put in you, you learn is what's best for our country. So, and that's important. Sometimes it is sad to hear that, like you said, there's educated people or people that you thought understood certain things would say that facts don't matter. In order to make good decisions for our country, facts do matter, and also together with what we spoke about earlier, which is understanding people and not shouting people down and listening. It all plays a role, because if you're not going to listen to facts and somebody makes up stories about a certain group or certain people, then no different from when the media for a while was portraying soldiers and Marines and other service members that had PTSD as they're all the same.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's dangerous. That's not factual. So not understanding the facts about PTSD, which for a while it seemed the media was utilizing a lot when it comes to military service people, that they were all one way. They were all going to shoot people or kill people. That was heavy. Not understanding that, like anything else, any other disease or illness, there's different variations of it. And also the access to treatment and everything else plays a role. I have PTSD, so and trying to determine whether do I get help or do I get a diagnosis was very difficult for me, because is it going to affect my work? Are people going to judge me? How are they going to judge me? Those are the bad facts that, when they're out there, can really contribute to a misunderstanding, and that's something that, as we were saying earlier, when people don't have or don't worry about having facts, that's a problem, because it can lead to all these other issues.
Are you comfortable telling us in a few minutes what happened, what you think led to that? Maybe without only as much details as you can give us.
Yeah, I think coming back from Afghanistan, I wasn't in Afghanistan a long time, but the time that I did spend there, and when I did see in 2011 or so, may have caused damage, just like anything else, right? But sometimes you don't understand what that damage is. So when I was trying to figure out, do I go to the VA for help or anything else, a lot of thoughts came into my mind. Well, do I do this? Is it going to impede my career? Are people going to look at me differently? Am I going to be treated differently? So then I decided, this was the best course of action, to get treatment and to figure out how to work with what the VA offers to help me and my family. So when I started there, it was a difficult road, because I know what I experienced wasn't as bad as what other people experienced. So I figured, well, I don't deserve
that's
that.
how you feel.
Right.
So my point is, there should be no shame for any veterans that went through service or has any service-related injury. They should claim. There should be no shame for that, right?
Right. Correct. And that's part of the having the right facts. As going back to what we were talking about earlier, facts, the right facts matter.
Correct.
Because if you put out the bad information, if you were provided with the right facts earlier on, you could have started your claims and the medical attention needed to maybe fix things earlier. And that was something I went through as well. And that's why it's so important to just put the facts out there, so that way not just veterans understand it, but the general population has an understanding of things.
I'm going to ask you something that might be a little bit controversial. How do you feel? Because I do encounter veterans. I work mostly with the senior community. A lot of them are veterans, Vietnam veteran, even before that. How do you feel about taking care of veterans before taking care of immigrants? That's a controversial topic, and I want people to understand it's not, I'm an immigrant myself, so it's nothing to do with being against immigrants. I'm trying to look at this from a logical perspective. Veterans, sometimes I hear from them and from regular people that work all their life, they have a hard time getting the help they need, but then at the same time they see illegals getting hotels, getting credit cards, getting phones. How do you feel about those things from a veteran's perspective?
Well, I always feel like our veterans should and must be taken care of, right? I'm also a part of the VFW, and I'm an officer of the district as a VFW member. So, my heart is always with veterans. And like you said, it has nothing to do with you're against immigrants or anything like that. But our veterans deserve what they're supposed to get. And some of that is miscommunication and lack of facts. So, we have to, our government, ourselves, our community, we have to make a better effort in reaching out to veterans and telling them what it is that they need. Because many times, not what they need, I'm sorry, but the services for their needs. So there's services out there for them. We have to reach out and get them. I don't know what the disconnect is at times with why maybe immigrants might get certain services and veterans don't. I don't understand.
Maybe it's like what you say, that veterans sometimes are not informed. Like I run into some veterans' wives, even after the spouse had passed on, that they have benefit like, is it Champs for health insurance? Yeah. Meanwhile, they were paying expensive Medicare supplements, but they had complete medical care through veteran services.
Yeah, I think we need a bigger push in terms of, like TV commercials. I mean, how many TV commercials have you seen for the VA? Do you remember any?
No, not really.
To me, that's a problem. Put it in a newspaper, social media, on television, and I think that's sometimes the disconnect is that it's not being pushed out there. The VFW, we do what we can, the American Legion and other the Vietnam veterans groups, they push with the members they have, but if a person's not part of that, they're not going to know.
Why do you think that lack of communications to veterans happen? And I'm not saying this is what it is. I'm just asking to get different opinion. Do most veterans fall one way in the political spectrum? Could that possibly have anything to do, or you don't think so?
I don't. I'm going to say I don't think so. Only because, when I asked you, do you remember any commercials for the VA? You said no. That has to come either from the VA, the federal, and the federal government. It can come from the state government, right? Like they have to get together and push out information. Hey, you're entitled to these things, and that's important. But we don't have that. So how are these veterans going to know? The ones that are not attached to veterans groups are going to know that things are out there. And, a lot of times when veterans get out of the service, military folks get out of service members, they're trying to get their lives together outside of the service, and they don't always think about joining the different groups, yeah. Even though I think it's important because it provides information. But our government does have a responsibility to get this information out there, but we even talking about like the VA and everything, they've been talking about closing departments over at the VA Northport. A few years ago we were there in front of the VA, a bunch of us with the U.S. Senator and other folks asking that the VA not be closed down.
How is that going to help with recruiting?
How is that going to help with anything? How are people going to get services? But, these are the issues. You can't cut back on the services. You have to promote what they have. You got to let them know what's out there. There's so many wonderful programs that could help. but it's gotta be advertised. It's gotta be pushed. And that's important. I think that's part of the disconnect. There's no communication.
Yeah, I agree with you. So maybe in this channel, Assy Girls, we can also have more people and create awareness, not just for the unity of America, but also, I mean, this is for veterans. This channel is dedicated for veterans to speak up, but also let's speak up for veterans. So
Yes.
I'll keep that in mind for the future. So I like the setting here. Can you go into the political division? How can we fix that? How can we hold politicians responsible to create unity in America, to speak the truth instead of speaking for their party?
Yeah. I mean, we have to have better dialogue, right? And our politicians have to really take a moment and listen to the regular folks, right? Now, I say regular folks, not anybody way to one side, way to the other side. Those are most folks. They may be the most vocal, no matter on what side you're talking about, but they're not most people, right? They're not the majority of the people. And this is why sometimes I think there's that misunderstanding that because they're the most vocal, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. They need to find and talk to those people in the middle of the road, the majority of Americans, right? That are maybe asking for help, or like we talked about earlier, the veterans that may need some help. Go and reach out to those folks. Not just to the extremes. And so when politicians are only listening to the extremes, their decisions are going to be extreme.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what other way are you going to go if that's what you're listening to? So
Do you feel that social media has played a role in dividing the country? Because before, people were not hearing each other's thoughts on a daily basis, and I think I have experienced that. Like, maybe in my naive ways, I thought most people thought the way I did, so it was a little bit shocking to me and I being in the service, I was in the USS Nimitz with over 5,000 people. And that's probably why it's shocking to me to see all this division, because I was I could hardly speak English. I have a problem with that still. But in the USS Nimitz, there were over 5,000 people from all over the world, from all over the US, from the South, from the North, everywhere. But I could not tell you that I experienced any issues with race or anybody that treated me differently because I spoke broken English or because I was Dominican. So it's shocking for me to see so much division now in 2024 versus early 90s with people from all over America. I was not treated unfairly. So what's going on?
Yeah, I think what we spoke earlier, the commonalities. So, everybody on the Nimitz is focused on common missions, right? What brought you together? You're a serviceman, I'm a service member. I'm here serving. We have a job to do. So even if you have those differences, but understanding that this is the road ahead to success and making things better and safer for our country, that's what we got to get back to. We got to get back to everybody understanding that we all want the same things. Just like we were talking about earlier with the Town of Babel initiative as to quality of life. Doesn't matter whether you're Republican, conservative, Democrat, liberal, whatever label you might call it. We all want to be safe. We want to be secure. We don't want our homes vandalized. We don't want drugs, being sold in houses and endangering kids. None of us want that. So understanding that that's, it's a common grounds. And when you walk on common ground, people are going to walk to that direction together versus all the division. So we have to get back to what makes us Americans. What are our ideals? What do we believe in? When we start looking at that, the focus, then everybody's walking that same path. Right now, everybody's going in different directions. You say, could it be social media? Social media does play a role. There's more and more understandings of how algorithms work. So even if I'm interested in this one political side on things, and if I just travel that route, I'm going to go only that route. We all have to use social media as a better tool. because it is a good tool.
Yeah.
It really could be, right? So I might want to read on this opinion, then switch over, read that opinion, read different people's opinions and look at different things and perspectives, you know, and then you see the algorithms change and not just direct us this way and these people this way and these people this way.
I hear some people mention that they used to be able to watch news that lean right, news that lean left, but like more and more, that's almost impossible to do. How do you feel?
I think it is getting harder and harder because it's very similar to social media, right? What the mainstream news has done is they're just directing towards one group, right? They figure, well, we're making money by selling this or some facts, not everything, just some facts, whatever suits this group that I'm selling to. This other station's doing the same thing, right? Versus, just saying, I'm just going to report the facts. Let me just report the facts and let people make up their minds as they see fit. So you have more and more of that where it's kind of imitating social media when you have the algorithms and it's just going in one direction.
So it's pretty sad to say that the money is more important than the freedom in the country.
Right, and that is sad. But we have a capitalist society, and that's okay, right? We believe in our country is a capitalist country. We make money. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with ambition. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do better and gain more things. Nothing wrong with it. But what are we going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And what we're going to do with that information is important. But also us as consumers, just like I was talking about the social media and the algorithms, even with the news channels, people have to take a stand and say, no, I want better facts. I want better news.
The problem that is kind of happening on both sides, maybe, like it would be nice if you could say, oh, this news channel is just telling me the facts, so I'm going to just watch that one. And the other one will have to eventually come back to the truth. But from what I hear and from what I see, it's kind of hard to find that objective news.
Yeah, and again, and that goes back to even when people talking to each other, understanding that just listening. I don't have to agree with you, but it doesn't hurt me to listen. And it's the same. Just listen, right? If you find a news outlet that provides you the facts, you may not agree with the facts. Just listen to them.
As I was saying to you, is I feel that we have to put more responsibility on the political leadership of the country. Because let me give you one example, trying to be careful with how I say this. But I was donating blood in Massapequa a few years back, and those are one of the other instances that made me realize that politicians and the news media does have responsibility for people's actions. Sometimes you have to be careful what you say, because people do get triggered. And one of the incidents that happened that made me realize, wow, we are divided in some way, is that I was donating blood. This nice lady, about mid-70s, white lady, come to me, and she's helping me, very, very, very nice with me after I donated blood. And then someone came on TV, people will probably know who, and she goes, he needs to be shot in the head. Very angry.
Yeah.
And I'm a veteran, so I'm like, I have to respect the office, right? No matter who it is. I may not like the person in charge, but that's the President of the United States. And all I say was, that's the President of the United States. Oh, he's not my president. And I made a mistake of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were from this country. I was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
That was a big mistake. She got so triggered. She got red. She started cursing me out. She said, I'm volunteer here. I'm leaving. I'm done for the day. I'm so disappointed in you. And I say, wow, we have a problem, because if politicians and the news medias are causing this kind of reaction in people, we're gonna have a problem. But do you think it's just politicians, the news media, or is the country in more trouble than we think? Could there be foreign investment, foreign enemies investing in this division in America?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good point, and I think for a long time we've known that there's been foreign investments in trying to push our country in different ways. We know that we have to be careful with what's being fed into from China and Russia and other places that try to infiltrate, our social media and things like that. We've known that for quite some time. And being military people, we know as sometimes in the military or psychological operations, right? That even during wartime, there's misinformation that gets sent out. That's been developed
Definitely.
and looked at for a very long time, for centuries. Militaries have thrown false information out there.
Genghis Khan.
Yes.
Divide and conquer.
And so that happens. And so being aware, and we know this is nothing new, it's a different platform, right? It used to be maybe carrier pigeons, You intercepted a carrier pigeon with the wrong information. You're like, oh, the enemy's going to do this.
Yeah.
Now we have social media, we have news channels, we have all kinds of stuff, and even foreign entities buying, whether it's our properties or trying to buy our communications, or, years ago they were trying to buy ports, right, in the U.S. These are dangerous things. So understand that those things play a factor, but going back to that reaction that this volunteer had, you yourself was a volunteer. You're volunteering your blood. She's volunteering. Two people doing very good things.
Yeah.
And she looks at the TV, and her reaction is so strong that she thinks that, that again, like you said, it doesn't matter who's off, especially as military people, we respect the office, right? That they should be killed, that's so extreme.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some years prior, she probably wouldn't have thought that way. But being fed all these facts, or I would say bad facts, misinformation about people, creates such a strong response that her initial inclination is that person should be shot.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be like that for anybody, So, it does play a hand, and we have to be aware of it. And again, that's why, we're talking about social media, it plays a very important role. And we have to understand that, what we see there, do we know it's true? It can be entertaining, but where else are we going to get our facts from? Where are we going to do our research, find out, get different people's viewpoints?
Yeah, I think we have to remember, I always come back to the family. Even in our own family, brothers and sisters, we have total disagreement. We see things differently.
Absolutely.
So how can we expect the whole country to see things the same way we do? We have to respect each other. And I think the most important thing is to be honest. If you're a socialist, if you're a capitalist, if that's how you believe is the right thing to go for the country, you have the right to speak up, but also respect the other people's beliefs. And not be so negative, not be so aggressive, not take physical aggression.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier too, she's just shouting people down. They start talking, they have a difference of opinion, and then it's shouting, yelling, and intimidating. It's not dialogue. It doesn't help anybody. Take a minute to listen. See, hey, I do understand why you're saying what you're saying. I disagree. This is my viewpoint. That's how it could be taken. But, it just, when you have information that are on the extremes and everything is about fear, it's fear-based. That's why, I'm sure this woman had the opinion she had, because all the fear that's been put in her from whatever she's hearing, and it happens on both sides. It's all about fear. If you look at, what any side is putting in the news or putting out there, it's trying to scare people. So when you get scared, how do you react? Right? You fight, you got flight, or you stay still, right? Some people are gonna fight because they're scared. Deep down, they're worried and scared.
The only thing that I do have a problem with is with anybody that is an American citizen and is looking to do harm to the country, to the future of the country.
Absolutely.
Because I have children. You have children. How many
Yes.
children you have?
I have 3 children. I have 2 boys and a little girl.
And so we want the best for them. We want the future of America to be safe. We want them to have better opportunities than we did.
Yes.
And right now, some of us feel that that's not the case. So we want to work for that. We want to preserve America. So definitely, I don't really feel that I need to speak to anybody that is looking to cause harm to America. I don't care what beliefs you have, what ideology. As long as you want a bright future for the country, I respect your opinion. Anything else that you want to add before we end it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly, what you just said, that, we want to respect people's opinions as long as they're not trying to do harm to our country. As veterans, as service people, we serve for that purpose to protect the United States, against enemies, foreign and domestic. So that's important. And, but listening to the other folks that do love our country, but have different ways of saying, hey, this is the path or this is the path. As long as the intentions are good there and there's love for the country, I want to listen to those people and see if we can adopt those ideas and see what we can learn from them.
Jorge, what is your message? What is your final message to America, to veterans? This channel is about veterans speaking up. What is your message to veterans? What is your message to all American citizens?
My message to veterans is, get out there, participate in your community. You've done great work throughout your life. Make sure you receive the services you're supposed to get to keep you healthy and safe and your family, and really continue to participate in this fabric and great country of America. And same to our citizens. Communicate, respect each other, just listen, even when you have differences of opinion. Don't shout each other down, and understand we have so much more in common than you could ever think. If you start talking about what you have in common, you're going to realize that, hey, we're the same, no different. I said earlier, we all want security. We want to be safe. We want quality of life for our families and our community. And we have that in common.
There are no Democrats and Republicans in the trenches, right?
No, there are not. It's your battle buddy and God.
Thank you so much, Jorge, for taking the time walking around the Belmont Lake State Park, appreciating nature. I love nature. I'm a nature person myself. So thank you for taking the time to speak up for veterans and also for America. If you like this kind of content, if you want to speak up, if you're a veteran and you want to come on and speak to us about anything, doesn't matter what ideologies, let us know. You can send us an email at Vets4Unity@gmail.com. And please write us also if you have any suggestions. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like to keep seeing some of these contents. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.